what's up, guys? How we doing? Hey, I caught up to two-time and current reigning women's national champion, Sophia Phelps. She is a badass. She can talk. She is a complete girl who I think can take motocross to the next level. We talked about where women's motocross is, where it used to be, where it could be. We've talked about, motocross on the world stage, difference between men and women. So anyway, I think you guys are going to enjoy this one. So anyway, if you want to get yourself in shape, hit up CompleteRacingSolutions.com. That's CompleteRacingSolutions.com. Coach Rob's got a program for everybody. So check it out. If you want to get your garage dialed in, hit up EpicGarageDesigns.com. They can do custom flooring, shelves, you name it, they can do it. Make you the envy of the neighborhood. And if you got an ATV or UTV, hit up RevolutionOR.com. That's RevolutionOR.com. They'll have you pimping. So without further ado, this is the well-spoken and completely badass Sophia Phelps.
I'm in the empire business.
Everybody love everybody!
You all know exactly who I am.
All right, guys, I got a special treat for you this evening. I have with me the two-time and reigning women's national champion, Sophie Phelps, or Sophie or Sophia?
Either way. I mean, it's on my birth certificate is Sophia. Most people call me Sophie.
Okay, perfect. I'll call you Sophie then, if that's what it says here on the screen on the Zoom. So I'm going to roll with that. So, wow, you are fresh off probably one of the best performances I've ever seen at the ranch. So let me just set it up for the people that don't know. Let's see, you got first moto. What position were you? Third or fourth? Third. Then you won the second moto. And third moto, you had to be within one, or you had to beat Taylor Allred. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. And, relatively somewhere up front.
And what happened to you in this moto?
Let's see. Off the start, I hit a hay bale on the very inside of the corner. So I kind of panicked, and that pushed me back to somewhere between 10th and 15th about. And then going into the third corner, I was trying to weave between girls, and another girl was doing the exact same thing. And we just collided into each other this direction. And so we went down. It wasn't too hard of a crash, but it was enough to where when I stood up to grab my bike, I glanced behind me and no one was there. So,
well, I was watching and I saw you go through the first. I'm like, whoa, she's deep in the pack. And then I'm looking at live timing and scoring. I'm like, what? Maybe its transponder didn't go. I'm like, where is she? You were so far behind. It was ridiculous. I was like, wow, gosh, I think it's over. I was so bummed. But I'm like, well, she's fast. And I don't know. But then I saw Taylor was pretty far up there. I'm like, oh boy. And you charged like nobody's business. Not only did you get up past Taylor, you won the moto. I mean, are you kidding me? You won the moto from down. Seriously, do they have replays of that on Racer TV? Do you know?
Yeah. In fact, if you just go to YouTube and look up, it's day 5. Let's see, would they consider? Yeah, because they don't count practice day. So it's day 5. I think it's an hour in when they start the moto. So you can go rewatch the whole thing.
Yeah, seriously, if anybody has any young racers, kids, and you want to show what determination is and what never giving up is and why you don't throw a fit when something happens, Sophie, I was literally out of oh my gosh, I was inspired. I could not believe that ride. It was badass. But this is your second championship. You won last year too, right?
Correct. I did win last year.
And I went through the results. So you started going to the ranch in 2016?
Correct.
Now I see you did the girls 9 to 13 class. Let me guess, you were 13 and your dad knew that's the last year you'd be that age. So he says, we better get to the ranch. Is that right?
I think I was AMA 12. So
okay.
We had some people, I think the year before, say, hey, we think she could qualify, give it a shot. And he was like, okay, why not? So we gave it a shot. And at the time, there weren't a lot of girls at the area qualifiers. It was really small. So in fact, at our qualifier in particular, there were less girls than there were qualifying positions. It was really small at the time.
Well, it doesn't look like that this year. I was shocked at how many of those girls were fast, really fast. And I've ridden with you at Mesquite and I know how fast you are. And I'm just like, dang. Does knowing that there's that many good women out there, does it bum you out there's not a true national championship series?
It does bum me out. Going into the week at Loretta's, I knew who was going to be there, and we paid attention during practice and everything. And just watching previous results at regionals and whatnot, we thought, wow, there are, like 7 women here who we could see winning a moto. Like any one of them, I mean, it wouldn't be that surprising, which is amazing. Like you haven't seen that in women's class in a really long time. And I think the reason for, if you check like recent racing results, we've had a huge influx of women's racers, and that could be from a number of things. But I think one of the big things is that we were all little girls during the Ashley Fayette, Jessica Patterson era. So I was 9 when they cut off the series. So kind of right around my age group, we all remember watching that. And we were probably, the basically like the fruits of their labor coming up. Now we're racing and we don't have that series like you're saying. So it is unfortunate. It's hard to say where we would start to do something like that, but yeah, it is a bummer for me. And then also for all of the other younger girls, because I wish that I could say, that they'd have somewhere to go to.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're essentially the national champion. You're the, like what Tomac and Sexton did outdoors. You did that at Loretta's because that's the highest women ranking there are. I did have one question though. There's the girl, Jordan Jarvis, that announces, how come she doesn't race Loretta's?
Yeah, she doesn't race anymore because so the WMX class is pretty open. It's like ages 12 and up, 125s and up, and basically any woman can race it, amateur or pro, but you can't race it if you have, let's see, I think it's qualified to be in the Fast 40 at a men's pro national.
Which she has. And I don't know, do you have any aspirations to do that?
I would love to. I think that'd be really fun. But yeah, as of right now, she's the only woman who ever has. So it was really interesting when they made the rule. It was like, wow, that excludes one female. But it's cool for her because she is doing so many, like what she's doing is insane at the outdoor nationals. So it's unfortunate that we can't have her with us, but man, she rips. So maybe I should be grateful.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, that, and she's really, really good. I love listening to her because they always bring her in the booth when you guys are up there, and she knows everything about all of you guys. She's a great ambassador for women in motocross, and it's really nice to hear. Yeah, I love the goofy guys, Kevin Kelly, Weege, and those guys, but she brings some real knowledge in there about you girls and who's good and who's doing what. And this girl, there was a girl that got the whole shot in the third one, Kylie Stallings.
Yep.
She was fast, but she was also riding the little class. So, I mean, it's crazy how much progression there's been in the last couple of years. How about Supercross? You ever ride any Supercross?
I actually haven't. We've, said different things about it before, but it's just never actually come together. We'll have ideas of, we should go practice here, or, do whatever, but we've never actually gotten to the point of, okay, getting some suspension done for Supercross and giving it a shot. So we've thought about it, we've talked about it, but yeah, nothing in particular for that. But I would like to say I do agree with you. It's the best move that those announcers did was bring Jordan Jarvis in for the girls and women's motos, because they do a great job. But it's really cool that, like you said, she knows some background on a lot of the racers, and she knows what it's like to be out there. Not that those guys don't, but yeah, she provides some great insight. And she is a great women's ambassador. Her and her dad always come talk to me and say, hey, whatever you need, let us know. They're awesome people, and they go around and talk to all the girls. So they're really cool.
I'm not going to lie, though. Seeing the way you rode in that third moto, I really want to see how you stack up against her, because I think you might have something there. I mean, she's good, but yeah, I also think you're pretty badass. Have you looked
I appreciate that. She is insane, though. She is, yeah, I think she's on another level, but it'd be fun to race her.
There's a lot of guys out in the nationals going, dang, she smoked me. So,
right.
Have you looked much at the European women's class?
I have. I pay attention to it. I like to see what's going on over there. Mostly just out of curiosity. It would be really expensive to get over there, to live over there. And I don't know, I think it would be an incredible experience, but yeah, it's just so pricey. So that's the main thing.
Do they have full factory women racers over there?
Yes, they have a few, I believe.
And have you been approached by any of those teams? I'm surprised they're not taken a look at, some of the younger talent here?
No, they haven't approached me. I am not aware of them like paying attention too much to us over here, but they might, and we might not know about it. But yeah, they
Okay,
have.
so
It might just be like it might feel more logical to them to train, a girl over there to be a factory racer instead of pulling one from over here.
I don't know, because Americans really seem to bring the show, like they'd get so much more eyeballs on their series if they brought, say, I don't know, you over there. So so hypothetically, I got a lot of people over in Europe that watch my shows and the podcast and stuff. If somebody wants to get a hold of you to see about riding for their team, where would they contact you? On Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is typically the best way to contact me.
And what's your Instagram handle?
It's Sophia Phelps 56.
Perfect. Yeah, of course, the number. So, okay. So you made you made a huge jump in speed in 2021, because I know you were battling right for podiums in 20. And before that, you were, 26, 35, 14, 17. What changed all of a sudden? Did something click in you?
There's probably a handful of factors going into it. One of the biggest things would probably be my coach. In 2020, so just 2 months before Loretta's, I started training with Kyle Lewis. And prior to 2020, I had never been on the podium at all at Loretta's. I think my best finish ever was a 6th in a moto. So yeah, I started training with him in June of 2020. And then that year I got on the podium 3 motos. And then I stayed with him all the next year. And yeah, that following year got a championship. So I think he was a huge factor in that. He's really helpful with suspension and bike setup, and as well as on the bike training. So yeah, I'd say he's probably one of the biggest reasons. Another reason could be I just kind of started figuring out what works for me training wise off the bike. I think it takes everyone kind of a little while to figure it out, and maybe I, was just doing some things right here and there and finally focused in. Yeah, there's a number of things that it could have been. I was also playing other sports when I was prior to 2021. I was racing on our cross country mountain bike team. So I guess my priorities were pretty split. So yeah, a number of things, but maybe I finally just hit puberty and grew enough muscle to hold on to the dirt bike or something. But yeah, a few thoughts.
How old are you now?
I'm 19.
19. And you're going to school, you said?
Yeah.
Where are you going to school?
I'm going to Dixie State University. Now it's called Utah Tech University here in St. George, Utah.
That's crazy. I would think the reigning women's national champion, not that you shouldn't go to school either way, but do you have to have a job? I don't know. What do you do? How do you split your training? When's your next big race?
Let's see. Next up, we're thinking about doing Ponca. That actually depends on my school schedule. I think I can get out of all of those days in class leading up to it. But yeah, it's interesting that I do have to split it all up. I don't know. It's time management, which I'm not very good at, but yeah, I'll do all my classes and then I go riding, for as long as it's light out, and I'll come home. I'll hit the gym when I get a chance, and yeah, try and get homework done. It sucks because, at least last year, the problem is that between training, sleep, and school, something had to suffer. So there was always some imbalance in life. So I cut down my credits a little bit this year. So I'm not quite doing a full schedule. I think I'm doing 12 credits. Because last fall semester I did 17-ish, and that was pretty killer. So yeah, it's a difficult balance. There were a lot of times last fall semester that I was at the college until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I'd come home when it was already dark, and then it's like, man, I don't get a ride at all, until Saturday hits. So this year will hopefully be a little bit better. I think I'm going to be more on top of it, but yeah,
And
it's just doing my best.
It's clearly it's good enough.
Thank you.
You have multiple siblings, correct?
Correct. I have two younger siblings.
Do they ride?
My sister has a pit bike. She has a KLX 110 that she loves to cruise around. She's actually pretty good on it. Honestly, I feel like if we threw her on an 85, she could do something, but she's not that committed. Or she doesn't want it enough, I guess, to jump on a race bike. But my brother has also a KX 250 and he rides around a lot with me. So he mostly likes to come out just on practice days and stuff. He did an off-road race earlier this year, but they're not serious about anything, at least as far as motocross goes.
And from seeing you ride at Loretta's this year, I assume you've got your old man covered. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. His goal was to be able to beat me until he was 50.
Yeah.
Which I won't say his age on here, but that was a few years ago. So, but yeah, I actually beat him like I think 2 months before he turned 50 was the first time I beat him.
Well,
So,
that's an accomplishment. For those that don't know, her dad, Bill Phelps, started riding later in life and became pro into he was like the plus 25 king in Utah for quite a while. And then he went into his 30s, and Bill, he lives clean. So he has aged like fine wine. And I saw him at Mesquite probably around the time he was still beating you, and he was fast. So that's not exactly an easy task. I'll give you that. So.
yeah, he's pretty impressive, and he will probably quote that around the house for the next month. So thanks for giving him something to say. He's going to walk around. Chris Cooksey said I aged like fine wine. I can hear it right now. But
Oh,
yeah,
I'd never say that to his face. So no, I'm just kidding.
He
No,
is
Bill's
awesome.
awesome. I had
is
so much
awesome.
fun. We used to, you know what though? Your dad, I don't know if he'll tell you this or not. He was a little uptight back in the day. We'd pull some pranks on him, and he's a big BYU football fan, as you know.
Yep.
I believe Utah beat them that year, and I put a little thing as a honk if you love the University of Utah, and put it on the back of his car. It was on there for a day or two. He was so mad. Like, I've never seen your dad that mad. He's like, why would you do that?
I did not know you had done that. That's pretty funny.
Oh yeah, we had some good jokes and stuff. But yeah, it was so much fun working at that shop. We worked at South Valley Motorsports together. So
There's lots of good stories from back then. But you're right. He eats clean. He's working out almost every day. So yeah, it was very difficult to finally beat him when I was on. I think I was probably on Super Minis when it happened.
I'll say when we worked at South Valley, I'm pretty sure I had him covered. But when we rode at Mesquite, I had nothing for your dad. Or if I did, it was only for one lap, and then I'd have to let him go. So he's good. So you ride with Aiden Kiefer quite a bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit when I go down to California or when he comes up to Mesquite.
So how do you stack up against the guys? Like when you practice with Aiden Kiefer, is it close? Like where are you at with that?
Well, okay, it depends.
And you can be humble, but you don't have to throw Aiden under the bus.
Well, okay, it depends on the track probably, because we ride together a lot at Mesquite. That's when we'll get a lot of time on the track battling and whatnot. And Mesquite is my home track. So it's close enough that I can go to a morning class and then drive down there for practice sometimes. So yeah, when we go ride there, then I definitely have an advantage because that's my home track and I know how it's prepped. I know how that's going to ride. So there he has a few seconds a lap on me, and then everywhere else he has, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds lap on me. So I think it depends on the day and whatnot, but I'd like to bridge that gap. That'd be fun. But
yeah, well,
Aiden's
Aiden's one of the fastest kids, and I think we're going to see him racing Supercross and nationals at a really high level in the coming future. So
it would be really cool if he did. Yeah, he's fun.
So my question to you is, I've always thought, okay, women in NASCAR, women in Indy cars, there's no disadvantage. There's no strength. It's all skill. Motocross, I think, is very similar in the sense of women are very strong in their legs. You're supposed to ride a lot with your legs, keep your hands loose. Do you think that there's any disadvantage or advantage being you? Do you feel like the sport, I'm trying to figure out a way to say, is it more like auto racing or is it more like UFC where there's a disadvantage? What do you think?
I would say that there's definitely a disadvantage, though I do agree with how with your thoughts on racing cars, how there's not
Yeah, there's
There's
no
a lot of just skill involved, and you're right about legs and everything. But I would say that, I mean, as far as cardio goes, right, men have a larger lung capacity, and yeah, so their cardio is stronger, and naturally their testosterone, it allows them to have stronger muscles, right? So in that sense, if we think about it, we often will say, and we'll hear people say in the sport, that it's the most challenging sport in the world. So if you're going to get on that bandwagon, then definitely physically, there is a disadvantage, because there's a lot of situations where, for example, like 250Fs, those are big for women. Like we did a Fox photo shoot with the women, and I was joking, it makes me look like a basketball player. Like, I love these girls, but like, I'm 5'6", and most of them are shorter than me. So yeah, the 250F is a big bike for us to move around. So yeah, I think in a dangerous event where, I guess where if we get out of control or something, we have to pull the bike back in line. That's definitely somewhere where a man's strength is going to be better. So maybe that's why, men could hang it out a little bit more, because they could pull it back in easier. So I'd say that's one place, though women tend to do really well when it comes to endurance. So, that's somewhere that maybe we outweigh. I'd say on top of that, definitely I'd say something mental is probably different. I remember learning in a psychology class that men have a stronger, men are naturally more aggressive in all animals, correct? So I think that aggression plays out on the track or in any sports more so than it does in women. So maybe we use the term sendy a lot, right? Maybe that sendy aspect, I think, probably comes from the natural male aggression, whereas females, the natural responses to situations are to care and nurture versus the
hunt and gather.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, interesting. I like to hear your point of view, because you're somebody who has actually surpassed many, many men, including myself. So I'm like, dang. And then you already talked about, have you done Arenacross, or would you start?
Haven't.
You haven't?
No, never have.
That's crazy, because the Utah series does quite a few arena crosses, don't they?
Yeah, in northern Utah they do, which I'm not against going to an Arenacross race, although they usually do it in the winter, and the desert here in St. George is just outstanding in the winter. So it's hard to pass up a great day in the desert.
Yes, I live out here too. So I'm not too far away in Las Vegas. It is beautiful, especially where you live up there. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Let's see, what was the last question I had for you? So what are you doing right now, and where do you plan on taking this career? Is this the top? Do you want to ride? Where are we going with this?
Well, okay. It's a difficult question.
It is, because you're already at the top, but there's so much more. Do you plan on elevating the sport itself to try and find a European ride, Supercross? Like where do you go? And I know this is a super hard question.
It is. So just like to throw out some ideas that I've had is that, just as far as things are going right now, I'd love to race outdoor nationals with the men, try and qualify just like Jordan has done. Follow in her footsteps there. I think what she's doing is awesome. Especially because we kind of we're not getting any younger, basically, right? And now I say that and everyone's like, you're 19. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, but I can't just sit around. So if I am to do Loretta's again, I'd say it would probably be my last year. That's like tentative, but we've talked about it. They don't age us out of the women's class, but it would kind of be going against what I want to do for women's motocross if I were to try and repeat every year for a decade, right? That is very counterintuitive, since I want to help progress women's motocross and try and bring up these younger girls and promote them. So I don't know, we've had different ideas of things that I could do, or that, just fast women in general could do to help promote the sport. Maybe start a women's series, or have pro women's races somewhere at some time. I don't know. But yeah, as far as things go for me, I'd love to do some outdoor nationals. And man, that's kind of it. I don't know. I'm in
Yeah,
college right
so
now. I'm in my sophomore year. I'm studying mechanical engineering. And honestly, like, man, I don't want to say that like I'd be happy being done now, but like I've had a lot of really cool experiences, and I feel like I've been so blessed with what I've been able to do in this career of mine. So I wouldn't feel shorted if I did just go on to
no, you're a
continue to
two-time
do it.
national champion back to back. You did it and then defended it, and in the most dramatic of fashions. But I do disagree a little bit with you on what you said, where you're saying if I just win every year, does that take away? No, I think that actually would make you transcend the sport, which could bring the whole sport up. If you become a 5-6 time champion, then you become a household name. People know you. You elevate the entire thing. And then if somebody does start a series, they start it with Sophie Phelps. Oh, Sophie Phelps, she's so awesome. And then at that point, it could elevate the whole thing. I want to get one of these European teams to come hire you. I want to see how you hold up against the girls over there. So, and I think that's the key, is just getting an American female over there to kind of open it up for everyone else. And then somebody's going to start a series, because I love watching you girls race. It's a whole new set of names, and it's the highest level, and racing at the highest level of anything is badass. So that's my thoughts on it. So
Yeah, thank you for your kind words. I guess my point in that, like, racing Loretta's over and over and over again in the women's class is that I mean, okay, maybe someone would surpass me next year, and then all of a sudden there'd be a new top dog, and maybe 3 girls would surpass me or more. I don't know, but if that didn't happen, I don't want to take away opportunities from the younger girls, because if I'm going to argue, I think we should have more women's classes, so that younger girls have an opportunity for a championship wherever. Then I feel like it would be, man, just, yeah, counterintuitive for me to go as a, say, 26-year-old right in the middle of my prime, training my butt off, and do something like that. I feel like that would, I don't know. And it's nothing against those women that age that are doing that. But yeah, I think if I'm going back at that age, I don't know, it would be for a pro women's motocross.
yeah,
Race.
like you
I
want
don't
you
know.
you
Like,
want you want to elevate the level if you're going to keep doing it. Is
yeah,
that what you're
exactly. I
saying?
guess that's what's in my mind, is that, okay, this is an amateur motocross race. So I'm thinking, basically in my mind, it's like, how much longer am I going to be amateur? And then after that, where am I going with this?
Truthfully, about half of that field that you're riding with shouldn't be amateur, because you guys are that good. It just happens that amateur is the highest real level we have right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It kills me. Just that I've said this before on other interviews, is that, sometimes I like sit down and just think to myself, like, or, if I'm getting down on myself, it's like, wow, this is what it feels like to train towards a dead end road. And it's not dead end, like, completely, right? I have so many great sponsors and everyone that wants to support me, and I appreciate that. But just to think, like, Loretta's is it in America for women's motocross. It's like,
I totally get it. And that's part of the reason I wanted to have you on here and talk to you, is I think it's so wrong. I want there to be a national series for women to shoot for. I think it's a great sport, and I think it's a sport that women clearly take to, because I couldn't believe the talent in the field. And it wasn't, I remember watching it 10, 15 years ago, well, before the Jessica Patterson era, when there would be like 1 or 2 fast girls and then a bunch of novices. Your whole pack, I mean, there's a few girls in the back, but for the most part, that entire pack was awesome. Like, if I raced that, and I ride okay, I rode with your dad and stuff, but I don't know where I'd finish. I'd probably be like 15th or 16th in the women's class. I mean, you guys haul. So
thank you. Yeah, I think, and I do think that we could be faster as a whole if we were to focus on motocross completely. I think, a lot of those women in there have full-time jobs, or at least a part-time job. And there's a good amount of us that are going to school full-time. So it's like, man, if we were able to train full-time, how fast would we be? Because there's often this argument, it's like, okay, well, women aren't as fast, we don't want to watch them. It's like, okay, well, we could be faster than we are if that was an opportunity, right? Like, we were talking about how I'm full-time in college right now. I wouldn't, or I guess I'm not technically full-time this semester, but I wouldn't be if I was training for pro women motocross, right? So then my speed would be elevated. These other girls, their speed would be as well. So yeah, I think it just kills me that there's not that opportunity there, especially thinking of the younger girls right now. It's like, okay, are we losing a generation of really young girls right now? In 2012, I remember being at Lake Elsinore for the final round of pro motocross, and the women were there. That's when Ashley and Jessica, I think they went into it tied into that last round, and they battled it out, and they were fantastic. I remember I went down pro pits. I didn't really care about the men down there. I remember I had Dungey's autograph, but I couldn't tell you where it is. I'm going to be honest, because the ones that I kept are Ashley Feilich, Jessica Patterson, Tara Geiger, and Sarah Whitmore. I have all of their autographs downstairs in my room. I could pull them out for you, because like that mattered so much to me. It was so cool to watch them and to meet them. I remember Sarah Whitmore signed it and said something like, "I can't wait to race you someday." And then gave me her autograph, and I had that taped on my wall, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, she can't wait to race me. And then I remember doing the math. I'm like, okay, how old would I be when I can race her? Like, just they were so cool. Yeah, and it was cool to meet the men as well. So, like nothing, no shame on those guys. I don't mean to, bag on Ryan Dungey, because it was cool to get his autograph, but I know where those women's autographs are, because that was so important to 9-year-old me, was to watch those women. So I think, like I said before, I think that's where this influx of women talent is from watching those guys and being inspired by them. And I think like, oh man, where would we be now if that had kept up? Like think about the numbers that we would have pouring into races. And I mean, that's a benefit for everyone in the sport. Like bike manufacturers and gear producers and literally every company, they would be selling more products, and there'd just be more riders.
Half the population's women, so why are we like, let's sell some more to them?
Exactly. In fact, it's slightly more in the US. If we want to be technical, like throw those numbers at them. So yeah, it's like, man, we are missing out on a massive market here in women's motocross. So who cares that we're not quite as fast? No other sport is, every other sport is trying to market to the women of their sport, because they know that half the population, 50%, we can't miss out on 50% of the population. So
saying the women aren't as fast is a ridiculous argument. It's not about the speed. It's at the highest level of women. Yes, you can beat most guys, but there's guys like Aiden Kiefer that can handle you, but it doesn't matter. It's the challenge. Like I watched, like my hands were sweaty before your third moto, because I was so excited, because I know you, and I've watched enough to know most of those girls' names. I know who's going to get tired. I know you're not. Like, it's about learning it and building the brand, and then it will function to a series. And I think that right now at this point where you girls are at, if someone's smart, someone's going to start a series, or one of these European teams is going to grab you. But to hear you say you're kind of like frustrated because you're at the pinnacle, I get it, but man, it bums me out, because I think you're somebody who could actually transcend this thing. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, man, I would like to do something with it. It's hard to, like put my finger on like, okay, what's going to be best? And I think we have a lot of people that think different things are going to be better. So we can't, divert all of our attention and energy to different places, but there is so much potential, I think, in women's racing. And I mean, if we're going to go based off of the money, then again, 50% of the population, you are missing out on it. But if we're not going off of the money, we could straight up say, this is, I hate to be that person, but this is sexist, that there's nothing. And I get there's not the numbers, I get there's not the speed, even though, like you said, I think that's a ridiculous argument. But my dad and I were talking about this the other day. You go to motocross and supercross, and it's really interesting, just the different roles that people play. The men are out there racing and they're wrenching on bikes and whatever, and the women are standing in bikinis handing out drinks. So that's how our sport looks to other people. And I don't know.
That's okay. I have a daughter who doesn't want to ride a dirt bike whatsoever. But had there been more people like you around to show her, maybe she would have, but I'd go to the track. There's maybe one girl rider. And like you said, then from a small age, you see that that's the role when that really shouldn't be the role. Everyone should race. I mean, and that's the thing is physically, I don't see gigantic differences like, oh, women can't do it. Women can absolutely do this sport, no problem. So
Yeah. Yep. And I remember sitting down watching a Supercross race, right? And I remember I loved to ride and race at the time, but it was Supercross, so there weren't women in it. And I remember watching the girl with the 30-second board. And I was like, man, I could be out there with the 30-second board someday. And I was sitting next to a friend's mom. And she goes, no, you will be racing. You will not be there with the 30-second card. And I was like, okay. So it's kind of just, I'm glad that she told me that. Now, I don't think I really would have gone on to hold up a 30-second board, but yeah, it's just, I think that's really interesting that, like, however old I was, 7 or whatever, that was my first thought, was that I could do that. It's like, no, that's not the role we want you to play. Like, you love to ride. Why would you, why would you stop that? So,
yeah. Well, like I say, with your personality and your skills, you're somebody who can be a real ambassador for this. And I don't know if you're fully aware of it yet, but I saw you and I was like, Sophie can make some change. Sophie could be the one that spearheads this and paves a path. So maybe girls behind you will have that national championship. So keep your head up, keep trying. Is there anyone you want to thank that helps you with your program?
Oh, absolutely. I have so many people to thank. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, my parents, first and foremost. Everyone says it, and there's a reason why, is that they really are like the backbone of my program.
And with your parents, I'm not going to lie, being friends with Bill and talking racing and stuff we did at South Valley, seeing him standing with you with that #1 plate, I'm not going to lie, we all felt like we won. So thank you for that, Sophie.
Of course. Yeah. And thanks to everyone who's influenced my parents. Yeah, they are so crucial to what I do. Rocky Mountain ATVMC has been huge, helping me out with so much stuff. Paul Barr and his family have been so supportive. Fox has been huge. Fast Company, Dunlop, Blended Up. Hinson has been very helpful. All of these guys are just, crucial to my program. CrossFit Dixie, Kyle Lewis MX Academy, Tusk, which is a product of Rocky Mountain, Primary Drive, also a Rocky Mountain product, Polysport Plastics. So many people that I owe a thank you.
Can I ask you about your training with Dixie CrossFit? What do you do exactly? Is it just normal CrossFit? Do you modify it for motocross exercises? What do you do?
It is completely normal CrossFit. So I have heard from a handful of people, different people in the sport say CrossFit is the worst thing you can do for motocross. You know what? It's great for me because we talked about how packed my schedule is. I can show up in the morning and it takes me 1 hour to get a warm up and a killer workout in. And I'm going to get cardio and strength training at the exact same time, as well as some balance training on top of that and whatnot. So, I'm sure there's reason behind it. I'm sure there are things that are maybe more specified that are better, but can I get it done in an hour and right down the road from my house? Probably not. So
hey, it works. Whatever you're doing, it's working. You've won 2 years in a row and you don't look like you're slowing down at all. So Sophie, I'm going to let you go. I've kept you for about 30 minutes tonight, but I thank you for taking some time and sharing some stuff a lot of people don't know about the women's racing. And like I said, if anyone wants to get a hold of her, reach out on Instagram. I'm talking to you EMX team owners for women. What do they call it over there? WMX? Is that what it is?
Let's see, is it WMX GP or something like that?
Yeah, either way, if you guys, any of you guys that have a team, please hire Sophie. I want to see her go race. I want her to race the women over there. So,
well, it looks pretty bad that I don't even know the correct term of the series.
Well, I follow it and I don't know it. So yeah, it is what it is. I would, but I promise you this, if they hired you and sent you over there, their American viewership would go up dramatically because we follow Americans. We're homers. That's what we do. So yeah. But anyway, thank you so much. Congratulations, champ. You have a good night.
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me on.